So Florida has been crusading for what they view as like, we need to have a proper education system. We need to teach our kids the right way. And of course, in service of that, what have they done? They've banned AP African American Studies because it includes some elements of CRT, which they find unconscionable. They also had banned AP Psychology, but recently reversed it because there was such an outcry and such a backlash. They're like, okay, I cry uncle. Okay, we'll put that back. And of course, you have the classic examples, and we've gone through them with a fine-tooth comb. The book bans in school libraries and school classrooms. You had elementary school teachers literally covering up their bookshelves because an official of the state government is supposed to go through book by book and approve them. You have these books that had nothing to do with extremism, nothing to do with, explicit sexual stuff that were banned. We gave you some of the specifics on these. I'm blanking on them now, or at least I don't know if these were particularly in Florida, but there was a book on the Holocaust that was banned. There's a book on like a black female basketball player that was banned. There was one in Ohio where it was like a it's okay to be a unicorn book, which just it preaches the idea that differences are okay and you should accept yourself. That was banned. Like so many things that are not even borderline were banned, right? And so this is what they mean when they're, we're going to clean up the education system. They mean we're going to be more authoritarian. And really, the reality is we're going to try to enforce our own political ideology of conservatism, of American exceptionalism on everybody. So in other words, look, my belief when it comes to education is facts first. Give all the facts, the good and the bad, and then after that, yeah, people can discuss their opinions, you can get into disagreements, etc. But facts first, teach the good and the bad and everything in between, right? What Florida's approach is, and what Ron DeSantis' approach is no, I just want you to do the propaganda in my political direction. Ironically, they scream, the leftists are propagandizing everybody and indoctrinating everybody, when he's like, I want to be the one to propagandize and indoctrinate everybody into my ideology of conservatism and American exceptionalism. So, as they pretend like they're cleaning up the school system, they're like, I got it. Let's teach PragerU to kids. Now, for those of you who don't know, PragerU, that stands for Prager University. They're not a university. They're totally unaccredited. It is a right-wing propaganda outlet. This is not debatable. That's what it is. Now, you can like them, dislike them, agree with them, disagree with them, but they're not serious academics and intellectuals, and they're not given a neutral, or I shouldn't even use the word neutral, objective version of history. They're not doing that. So guess what? Now we learn this. This is from Brian Tyler Cohen. He's citing the Orlando Sentinel. Florida schools are now teaching kids using Prager University videos, a far-right propaganda organization that isn't actually a university. One video features a cartoon Christopher Columbus saying, quote, being taken as a slave is better than being killed. Now, some of the more literal-minded might look at this, what's the problem with that? They're just saying, I mean, that's true, right? Wouldn't you rather be a slave than be killed? First of all, no, that's debatable. Second of all, why would they make this argument? I'll tell you why they make this argument. Because when it comes to American exceptionalism, when it's our enemy countries, black and white, everything is black and white morally. The answer is clear. People are evil or people are good. Look at what Iran does. Look at what North Korea does. No nuance, black and white. When it comes to our own egregious crimes, well, it's more complicated than that and complex than that and nuanced than that. And actually, there may be some silver linings around slavery. That was the whole scandal recently where they were like trying to make the argument that like, well, a lot of slaves learned a lot of valuable life skills that they then went on to use. And even black Republicans came out and were like, what are you doing? No. Slavery wasn't like a jobs program. What are you talking about? Why would you emphasize that point? And again, it's because under American exceptionalism, when we do bad things, it doesn't really count. There are mitigating factors and it's complex and it's complicated, but when the enemy countries do bad things, oh my, it's black and white. Yeah, I'm sure Ron DeSantis would teach a nuanced retelling of the history of socialism, right? Of course he wouldn't. Okay, so here we go.
In Europe, we draw the line at things like eating people and human sacrifice. Some of the native folks from where I just left do those things regularly.
So the Native Americans are eating people and doing human sacrifice. Gee, I wonder why they would want to portray Native Americans as absolute savages. Could it be because we engaged in westward expansion and the Trail of Tears and Manifest Destiny and did a genocide of them? Could that be? So in other words, we want to whitewash the fact that in this instance, we were insane criminals. And I say we loosely. Of course, I didn't do it and you didn't do it and nobody alive today did it. But the fact of the matter is the United States of America, the government, did that. That's what they did. See, this is what I mean. This is what American exceptionalism does. It poisons your brain with rank indoctrination and propaganda into thinking when we do bad things, it's actually okay. Because, hey, maybe they had it coming. Maybe they're savages. Maybe they eat people. Maybe they do human sacrifice. Maybe they're actually evil. That's what the goal is.
So, these people in your time who think it was a peaceful paradise are misinformed.
Nobody really says that. Nobody really believes that. People on the left teach an accurate and nuanced version of Native American history. Were they warring with each other? Absolutely. Does that justify us coming in and wiping everybody out? No. It shouldn't be a controversial point to say, I think genocide is bad. That doesn't mean like, oh, you're saying the United States of America shouldn't exist. You're saying the U.S. is always the bad guy. No, as I said, teach the good, teach the bad, teach everything in between. You can say genocide is bad, no matter who does it, and that is a fair, objective, reasonable comment. But if you were to say that, they'd say you're doing anti-American propaganda. It's unbelievable. Bro, everybody was doing it, bro. Was it really all that bad when we did? Everybody was doing it, bro. Everybody was doing it. Don't single us out for our bad stuff.
Even amongst the people I just left. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no?
This is what they're teaching kids in Florida. And he has the nerve to say, he wants to clean up the education system and teach facts. I got more for you. Philip Lewis tweets the following. People are sounding the alarm on the supplemental curriculum created by PragerU, an unaccredited right-wing group that has been approved by Florida schools. Approved by Florida schools. Frederick Douglass is depicted in a video saying founding fathers had to compromise on slavery and urges kids to work within the system. So there's a bunch of subtle things in here that we're going to break down. Listen to this.
Children, our founding fathers knew that slavery was evil and wrong.
The majority of them were slave owners. So are you going to point that out, or are you just going to say this? Is this the only point you're going to make, or are you going to say, also, by the way, a majority were slave owners? Are you going to point that out? Oh, you're not going to point that out, because that flies directly in the face of your American propaganda, your American exceptionalist propaganda.
And they knew that it would do terrible harm to the nation. They wanted it to end, but their first priority was getting all 13 colonies to unite as one country. The southern colonies were dependent on slave labor, and they wouldn't have joined a union that had banned it.
Are you okay with that?
I'm certainly not okay with slavery, but the founding fathers made a compromise to achieve something great, the making of the United States. It was America that began the conversation to end it. But Leo is correct that big problems need to be approached very carefully. Have you kids heard of William Lloyd Garrison?
No. Nope.
He's an abolitionist like me, and he and I used to be friends, but we aren't any longer. We don't agree how to solve problems. William refuses all compromises, demands immediate change, and if he doesn't get what he wants...
Going harder after the abolitionists than after literal slave owners. Cool.
He likes to set things on fire.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds like you know the type.
Yeah, we've got that type in our time.
Subtle dig at BLM. Now, am I in favor of simply teaching BLM is correct and right and everything they've ever done is defensible? No. In fact, there was a big story about how some of the leaders of the Black Lives Matter group were just con artists and they were scamming people and stealing money. That's fair. Point that. It's accurate. You could point that out. You could point out there were instances of riots where things were burned down, and that's, not okay. It's not like some random, black middle-class business owner is responsible for the evils of an oppressive system. You just oppressed them in service of what you think is ameliorating ills, right? You could point out the bad things, but don't pretend like there weren't also a tremendous number of peaceful protesters who just wanted to see reform so that innocent black people are no longer killed by cops. Innocent unarmed black people, right? But you see what they're trying to do. Oh, these are the bad people, the extremists, the militant ones, the ones who don't want to compromise. But at the time, not compromising around slavery is the more reasonable position. And they make it seem like it's insane.
You're trying to work for change inside of the American system.
Precisely, Layla. Our system is wonderful, and the Constitution is a glorious liberty document. We just need to convince enough Americans to be true to it.
Is that fair to just say the Constitution is a glorious liberty document? Is that fair? When it had the frickin' 3/5 compromise. Now, I'm not saying you throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not saying you only teach the bad things. You teach both. Freedom of speech, free expression, free protest. That was genius. That was brilliant. Separation of powers. That was brilliant. 3/5 compromise? absolutely objectively horrible. God, propaganda is so thick. I got more for you. DeSantis' Florida approves classroom videos that compare climate activists to Nazis. This is the PragerU stuff. I got one more for you. PragerU, just so you know, they try to hide their power level. You know what that means? That means what Prager really thinks about stuff, and what people affiliated with this project who work on this project really think about stuff. They cloak it. They hide it. They try to, like the things that you're seeing here, this is them trying to be more moderate in explaining their views. Because their actual views are a lot darker than what they're proposing. Here's a great example of it. This is a video that was deleted by PragerU because of the colossal backlash from everybody. But this is who these people really are. Look at this.
Who was Robert E. Lee? Statues of great historical figures, like Robert E. Lee, are being torn down across America. Here are some facts about Lee that remind us why his statue should remain. Robert E. Lee was connected to George Washington through his father, Light Horse Harry Lee, Washington's cavalry commander, and his wife, Martha Washington's great-granddaughter. Lee's home at Arlington House was just 10 miles from Washington's Mount Vernon. Today, it is the site of Arlington National Cemetery. After 30 years of military service, Lee led U.S. Marines to crush the attempted slave rebellion by radical abolitionist John Brown.
They're saying it was a good thing that Robert E. Lee put down a slave rebellion by, quote, radical abolitionist John Brown? Does this seem like an objective view of history? Is that what this seems like? Or do these seem like far-right rank propagandists who are now doing apologetics for the Confederacy? Let's listen again.
Light Horse Harry Lee, Washington's cavalry commander, and his wife, Martha Washington's great-granddaughter.
I love how point number one is, he knew George Washington. That's why, keep the statues up, bro. He knew him.
After 30 years of military service, Lee led U.S. Marines to crush the attempted slave rebellion by radical abolitionist John Brown in October 1859. 21 co-conspirators had seized a federal armory, and all of them were killed or captured, including John Brown, who was tried and hanged for treason.
Now you see why they took down this video. Because they normally hide their power level. They didn't hide it so well here. These are far-right people, man. These are people where a lot of the people working at PragerU, I don't use this term lightly. You don't hear me throw around accusations like this often. But a lot of these people who work there are definitely fascists. Definitely fascists. Only a fascist can make a video like this. Okay? So, this is who they have teaching Florida kids. And they have the nerve to say the left is indoctrinating. By what? Teaching the acknowledgement that gay people and trans people exist? I don't buy the idea that, oh, the left is trying to make your kids trans or trying to make your kids gay. They're grooming your kids into being... I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I think the left position, this is my position, is teaching that these sorts of people exist and that it's okay to exist like that. But no, I'm the extremist. We're the extremists. Not people talking about Robert E. Lee's statue should stay up because he crushed a slave rebellion by radical abolitionists, a number of radical abolitionists, and these people were tried and hanged for treason. Bringing that up as if it was a good thing. This is a great point from Philip Lewis. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis repeatedly says he opposes indoctrination in schools. However, his administration has approved educational materials from PragerU, whose founder says it is fair to say they indoctrinate kids. So from the founder of PragerU, it's true, we bring doctrines to children, Prager told a group, but what is the bad of our indoctrination? So in other words, when we indoctrinate kids into a right-wing ideology, when we indoctrinate kids into American exceptionalism, it's okay. In fact, it's good. But when you try to be objective about American history, and when you try to give facts and give the good and the bad and everything in between, you are actually doing the bad indoctrination. We are doing the good indoctrination. I feel for every child who's exposed to this garbage. Because, guys, it is just that. It is garbage. So for the love of God, send this video we just did here to every single Florida kid because they need to see it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.